right, welcome in the world's most buttoned-up horse racing show. This is the Horse Racing Happy Hour, hanging out with Steve Kornacki. My name's Louie. You can find the show on Twitter at Horse Happy Hour. However, you're hanging out with us this weekend, we really appreciate it. Monmouth Preview Day. We'll get into some stakes for that night racing at Churchill Downs. Got to get Steve's thoughts on the theme for Saturday night racing at Churchill Downs because I think it's very polarizing. So we'll have to bring him in, though. His name is Steve Kornacki, NBC, all the things. I feel like you just come on here to shoot the bleep about horses, and I appreciate that.
I love it. I also come to occasionally get trophies, but I got bad news. It didn't make it out of the hotel room.
That's all right. So Steve did win our Derby draft this year. What does it feel like to dominate a Derby draft that had Caitlin Free, who nailed the trifecta in it, by the way?
I was going to say it feels hollow after what she did, but didn't stop me from claiming credit.
No doubt about it. We at least got the picture at the Preakness, and so that was good to go as well. We also got a taste of Steve's fame with very specific Preakness goers who needed pictures as soon as Steve emerged from the shadows of unrenovated Pimlico Racecourse. But that's neither here nor there. But yes, he is our Derby draft winner. He's Steve Kornacki. He's hanging out. Belmont Stakes this last weekend. Look, you're a New York guy now. Obviously, you grew up in the Northeast. What was it like watching the Belmont at Saratoga?
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I got to go, and Fox has the contract, so I got to go as a spectator, and it was great. It was just great. I've been to the Belmont at Belmont, and those Triple Crowns in the line. Those are great, and in general, they're fun. But this felt different. This felt like a big horse race, but it also just felt like I think more than the Belmont, the whole weekend just felt like a huge event. The town really came to life. Obviously, the track was there was an energy. There was. The only problem was the bathrooms, but I guess they're going to fix that the next time. So I just, it'll go back to Belmont. They'll get the track, renovated, spiffied up. It might be really nice, but it was awesome. It was a great weekend.
There you go. Yeah. Did you have Dornoch?
No, I had Seize the Gray.
Yeah, I get it, man. You and me were the only ones who cashed in Baltimore. I was hoping to cash up there at Saratoga as well, but not so much. Zach, go ahead, pull that replay up for us here. But Dornoch, Danny Gargan, look, a local guy, grew up, a couple miles from where I'm sitting here in Louisville. Dad won the Kentucky Oaks as a jock. Came on our show on Rabode here on our ESPN affiliate in Louisville the other day and just said, man, I just love being in Saratoga. So I felt really good for Danny getting to win this one here with the younger brother of Mage, the Derby winner from last year. Here's Dornoch picking off.
And it's still Belmont. 7 lengths off the lead. Sierra Leone launching his bid on the far outside as the field turns for home. Mindframe on the outside is coming after Dornoch, and it's Mindframe and Dornoch head in head with a furlong left to go. Sierra Leone is closing ground. It's Dornoch hugging the rail. Mindframe a little erratic, but he's still right there with Dornoch in an absolute thriller. Dornoch and Mindframe, it will be Dornoch and Louie.
It was fun to hear Frank Miramonti call races with more than 5 horses in them. I'm just kidding, Santa Anita folks. But no, if Mindframe doesn't wander there, Steve, it is so interesting to watch these young horses that are in their third races and this kind of stuff. If he doesn't wander, he obviously wins this thing. I was very wrong about him. I thought maybe he needed some more seasoning over 2 turns, that kind of stuff. But Dornoch gets it done. End of the day, son, little brother of Mage, caught me off guard that he kept it up that long.
Yeah, Frank's call was great, although that's an understatement of the year contender there in a little erratic for Mindframe in the stretch there. But, the only thing I thought afterwards, if I had been ranking all of those horses for my preference, I think Dornoch would have been second to last. But the way, and I know there's a lot of debate about was there a speed bias? Is this just the way Saratoga plays? But whatever the answer is, it's favor speed. And, after seeing some of those races, Saturday, Friday, the idea that Dornoch goes to the front and the rest could just take care of itself should have been, I was kicking myself for that one.
Well, I even said on this show a week ago tonight, we were sitting with our guy Matthew DeSantis up at there at Naira Bets, and I said, I just think if there's 2 horses out front and Seize the Gray and Dornoch, I just trust Seize the Gray. And here we are. Yeah, I'm sitting on no money.
So do you remember they ran the 2 of them in a race at Saratoga last summer, and they were 1-2 and Seize the Gray. I mean, 6.5 furlongs, I think, but Seize the Gray the whole race. I'm thinking back to that race and yep, Seize the Gray's got this one. He's done it before, and yep.
here we are sitting here with no money in our pockets, but yeah, it is what it is. You're right, though. It was a fantastic Saturday of racing. They moved the Acorn to Friday, Steve, and we talked with Dan Illman last week, last Friday on Repo and Co. And I asked him, "Do you like this move?" And he said, "Hey, it kind of just follows what we've been doing with the Triple Crown Series. With the Derby, we got the Oaks on Friday. At Pimlico, we've got the Black Eyed Susan on Friday. Acorn getting its own day on Friday to Steve Kornacki like."
Yeah, for exactly that reason. Saturday was. Yeah, I always thought, they moved the Met Mile to Saturday, a few years ago,
right.
and I always thought that was kind of a shame because that can stand alone. But I get it too because just you look at the crowds they can draw, uniquely for these cars. So you might as well put it on one of these days when you got a lot of. But you can put in the Acorn day earlier. I think spreads it out a little bit more. I think they said 25,000 people there Friday. Felt like more, and it was fitting to have a race that big that day.
Did you get to go to Breeders' Cup when it was at Keeneland by chance either time?
Yeah, 22 I did, yeah.
Okay, just how shoulder to shoulder it was. Did it feel like that at Saratoga this weekend?
Yeah, I can't compare it because Breeders' Cup, I was at the board, our set, that we bring the board in near the betting windows. I just stayed there the whole day. I didn't even get outside. Friday was fine. There were no lines for anything on Friday, but it still felt huge. Saturday was, try to go to the bathroom, 15-minute line. Don't even bother with the concession stand. I found there was a vendor near us. We got a grandstand. There's a vendor, down in the at the bottom. Ran out of beer. I got down there. I thought I found the secret. Out of beer at 4 p.m. So.
Yeah, that's not ideal for a horse race that goes off around 6. But it is what it is. But speaking of Friday, Torpedo Anna continued her unbelievable run here in 2024. Out of that mile shoot at Saratoga, she wins the Acorn under Brian Hernandez Jr.
Torpedo Anna is up to take the lead at the top of the stretch. Just FYI, tries to shift to the outside. In the center of the racetrack, Leslie's Rose is closing, and My Main Squeeze is widest of all. A late bid from Power Squeeze, but it's Torpedo Anna. She is simply brilliant, putting them away in the DK Horse Acorn. Another stellar performance from Torpedo Anna, who.
And by the way, thanks to the folks at Nairo, we use their YouTube page to get those replays, and so we appreciate them posting those over at YouTube for us to use here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Steve, not a lot to say other than I think, there were rumblings about her running in the Belmont, and everyone kind of rolled their eyes. Glad she picked off another grade 1, $5,000 breeding job here for the homebreds there, but, could she have won the Belmont in your mind?
Yeah, that was my first reaction. The buyer came back a little on the low side, didn't it? I feel like it was low 90s or something. So I was thinking it was going to come back higher than that. So that gave me a little bit of pause. But look, she had the right style for you. Think about how that Belmont unfolded. She could have done. I think in my mind she could have done what Dornick did.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at the buyer as well. The thing that stood out though was, she ran the mile at $1:35.5 over essentially 1.5 turns at Saratoga. That's really fast. And so it's not as though she was all out or anything like that either. So I'm with you, Steve. I think she has a lot more in the tank. Do you think, we saw Idiomatic lose, she loses her race on Saturday in the Ogden Phipps. I still think she's the horse to beat in that distaff division, but boy, did it get more interesting with the inclusion of Torpedo Anna.
Oh, I can't wait to see, the two of them. Idiomatic, it was, I wonder on that one too, just was it the nature of how the track was playing? It was so favorable to randomized style, and Idiomatic still almost got there. But yeah, that's going to be fun. That matchup between those two can't get here soon enough.
And Danny Gargan, that was by the way, the Belmont was his first ever grade 1 as a trainer. And not a bad way to break your maiden of grade 1s with that. Obviously he's had really nice horses in the past, but he did have Society Man win the grade 3 Matt win as well on Sunday. So both of his Derby runners who ran from the 1 hole and the 20 hole of the Derby come back and win their races first time out after the Derby. And Steve, all that really told me, it was a nice reminder. This Derby path, this road to the Derby that we have now is still the best way to determine who the best 3-year-olds are and who the very likely best runners are going to be when especially this time of year.
Yeah, I think so. It's or the other way of looking at it is, who to keep an eye on for the second half of the year. Okay. Yeah, because to me, that's the thing maybe that I emerged most from this Triple Crown season with is which horse do I think that we saw it has the biggest potential for the second half of the year? I think it's Mind Frame. You know, who got, I mean, you just showed why, but didn't win any of them, only ran in one of them. But, you know, I think the upside there that emerges is pretty clear. There's three, they're great stories. Each Triple Crown race produced, I think the winner produced a great story. He had that, you know, great once in a lifetime finish I think it was a great Triple Crown series this year. I also think it was probably for the best that there was no Triple Crown on the line, just because you don't have to go through that whole debate about the mile and a quarter. And, you know, so you get that again, you know, next year. I think, you know, short of having a Triple Crown, an authentic Triple Crown situation, this was a great season.
Yeah, I think for sure, if you had to sort of rank how well they did during the Triple Crown season, and we take the three winners, we take Mystic Dan, we take Seize the Gray, we take Dornick, we put their resume side by side. So obviously Mystic Dan wins the Derby, runs second in the Preakness. We take Seize the Gray with the Pate Mile on Derby Day at a shorter distance in a grade 2, comes back, does win that Preakness front running style, sets the pace in the Belmont, but doesn't have it that day. And then we get Dornick, who did run up the track in the Derby, but does come back really impressively and wins the Belmont. Who do you think had the best Triple Crown season of those three horses?
I'd give it to Mystic Dan just based on the follow-up in the Preakness. You know, strong second place that I think validated the dirt. You know, Seize the Gray, you know, had he even finished in the top 3 in the Belmont, I might have said between the Pate Mile and the Preakness and the Belmont. But I think that, you know, that was that performance in the Belmont left me thinking a little bit more. I'd been dismissive of it, but the whole wet track thing, you know, because it wins the Pate Mile. But again, the buyer was like 88. The big buyer for Seize the Gray came in the mud. And I said that other race last summer, you know, over Dornick was in the mud too. So it leaves me kind of wondering about that. And and Dornick, again, the reason he was 9th out of 10 for me was the horse looked absolutely lost at the start of this year. And I was done making excuses, but hey, you know, maybe he follows this up and keeps going.
Yeah, it's one of the best things and the toughest things about handicapping 3-year-olds, and we'll do some of that coming up here when we head to Monmouth Park. But the other part of this is I think the lasting image for me, at least here, is going to be Kenny McPeek winning those back-to-back days. Brian Hernandez Jr., I think, really cementing himself. You know, if you follow the circuits that he's on and you follow them closely, you know how good of a jockey he is. But for him to carve out 2 very different trips over different tracks with horses with very different running styles, you know, I think that'll be the thing that really stands out to me, Steve, from a year where we didn't have we had 3 different winners. We didn't have anyone in contention for that Triple Crown, but it still felt like, man, that back-to-back day for a guy like Kenny McPeek, a guy like Brian Hernandez Jr., that's pretty remarkable stuff.
Yeah, I remember going over on the morning of the Derby with a few folks and talking about the Oaks the day before, and we're almost jokingly saying, "Hey, you know, can they pull off the double here?" And and lo and behold, not just to win it, you know, I mean, everything you're saying, to get the Oaks Derby double, to do it with a long shot, and to do it with the ride, you know, that he did it with. That's just a memorable, you know, the 3-way finish, but the right up the rail through an impossible. It didn't even look like an opening. And somehow, you know, gets through there. And then just, you know, I swear that the whole last 16th of a mile, he's going to get caught. And to, you know, somehow hang on. That was, it's memorable. I mean, my own personal favorite moment of the 3 was Lucas winning the Preakness. But because I just, you know, I wanted to see him win one in person. And when they turned for home, you know, I'm saying to myself, it's now or never. If I'm ever going to see it, it's now. And I just scream my heart out, you know, for Seize the Gray. And you see him cross the finish line. And I turn around from where I was and, you know, up in the balcony is Lucas, and you see him come down. And that's great stuff.
Yeah, it's as good as it gets for sure. Where were you for the Derby run itself? Did you get to the track?
No, it was funny. We were near one of the betting windows. We got our NBC set, and, you know, we got a TV set up there. And we just, you know, we decided, you know, about 10 minutes before the race, it's like, let's just stay here. We're going to, you know, we'll hear Travis Stone's call. We'll have it on the monitor right here. And it was absolutely empty. There were 5 of us. We had the entire place to ourselves. Everybody's outside. Betting windows are still open. So we're sitting there like 45 seconds before the race, still running up and making bets just because we can. But
Right.
watching on a little monitor, heard the crowd outside going wild though.
It is the most authentic and beautiful crowd reaction I've ever heard in my life. I don't think it's close. Just how the race ends, everyone is just understandably stunned by how great the finish was, and then they show the replay, and then there's a second reaction. It was near perfect, Steve. I'm very sure it's the best race I've ever attended, and the crowd reaction is a huge part of it for sure. So, just a terrific Triple Crown season, and Kenny McPeak, and I mean, is it this was the Torpedo Anna coming out party? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Torpedo coming out party. It was the Brian Hernandez coming out party, and I mean, McPeak to me, obviously the early leader for Trainer of the Year.
Yeah, 3 grade ones there over those 5 weeks for sure. All right, Steve Kornacki hanging out with us here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Do want to remind you about our friends at Manscaped, manscaped.com. Our promo code is Horse Racing, all one word, 20% off any order that you need, and free shipping to your house no matter where you are in the United States or Canada. So go check them out, 20% off free shipping. Use our promo code Horse Racing. Can start cleaning up a bit. I was actually thinking about you, Steve, as I was putting the show sheet together. You're our only guest that actually bothers to check the show sheet. And what is your, like, how much time do you have to spend on this, on the face? Because you have a job with a face. I'm in radio. No one cares. Have a cigar before the show. No one cares. That kind of stuff. Like, how much is there, like, do you have a routine? You have a routine, don't you?
Yeah, but a big part of it is NBC is good enough to pay people to care about our faces. So
yeah.
I think that helps.
Well, there you go. Steve Kornacki with us. We will be previewing Monmouth, obviously, on Saturday for the Monmouth preview day, or Haskell preview day itself, excuse me. The Eatontown, the Monmouth Stakes, the Pegasus, and the Salvatore Mile. Then we'll head over to Churchill Downs for a couple of those night races. And I wanted to pick your brain before we get to the handicapping, Steve. Do you know the theme for the night races at Churchill this weekend?
I don't know.
Okay, so it's Yacht Rock. How does Steve Kornacki feel about Yacht Rock? I think it's a fantastic idea for an evening. I think they nailed it.
Yeah, I like Yacht Rock, so it works for me. You are you going over? You getting dressed up for it? Yeah.
That's the question. It's like, what do you wear to a Yacht Rock night? Because I'm a Midwestern dad. I wear the same thing all the time. It is what it is. But what do I have to wear to a Yacht Rock night? I mean, producer Zach, if you have ideas, obviously jump in. But I'm trying to figure out, what do I wear to Yacht Rock night? Little credential, and then what am I wearing underneath the credential for freaking Yacht Rock night at Churchill Downs? I don't know what that looks like, but man,
I just want to say, if you don't have a captain's hat, it's not really Yacht Rock.
Okay, all right, I gotta get the captain's hat. All right, we got party stores around here. I'll figure it out. All right, little Yacht Rock night, but let's go to Monmouth first. By the way, on Rabot & Co. tomorrow at 11, I'll talk to Matt Dinnerman, our buddy. Been on this show many times. He is now the track announcer at Monmouth Park. We'll talk to him tomorrow and get into the races with him. Also I'm gonna ask him, because I think it's been a couple days. I'm sure he's ready to talk about it. 5 days since the closure of Golden Gate Fields, where he was the track announcer for many years. Want to get his thoughts on racing in the Bay Area and what, Steve, losing tracks like that. It's more than just another betting card. It's more than just, the people in the bars. Once in a while, you need those places for a Matt Dinnerman to get his start, right? And really get his voice and get, his announcing legs underneath him. And now he's doing Oaklawn, he's doing Monmouth. He's fantastic for the sport, just his attitude in general. So did you ever get out to Golden Gate? That's one that I never actually got to.
Yeah, no, I never did. And it was, obviously it's sad, and it raises questions too, bigger picture about California racing itself, which is the whole thing. But I was watching some of it on TVG or FanDuel, whatever they call it now. And it was like, I don't know if you had this feeling, but huge crowd turns out. And it's sort of like, Jesus, this could have kept it going, Yeah,
it feels like that every time, doesn't it? But yeah, so Golden Gate Fields, RIP, and Matt Dinnerman will join us 11 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN 680 here in Louisville if you're so interested. But we do head out for Haskell Preview Day. Starts on the turf, and it's for the Fillies and Mares 3 and up in the Grade 3 Eatontown Stakes. Going a mile and a 16th, using that little bit of a turf shoot in the middle of the track there, $150,000 on the line in this one, Steve. And this is a win in for the matchmaker. I'm a big fan of this trend in horse racing, Steve, where I don't know how much you at all follow quarter horse racing, but a ton of it is built on trials and how fast you run in the trials to qualify for stakes races. I like this about thoroughbred racing. I like the trail to the Derby. I like, hey, if you win the Eatontown, you get to run in the matchmaker next month. Do you like this kind of setup?
Yeah, no, I like these. What they do, I think, for a track like Monmouth too, is it creates another date that
Yeah.
feels kind of big. I think helps get a crowd out there. Obviously, gets eyeballs on it nationally, and
Sure.
I think that's the thing. The more these tracks can find ways to create it, I think the events are what drive TV ratings. Events are what drive crowds to actually still turn out to things. So the more they can come up with that, the better.
Yeah, there you go. So who did you land on in the Eatontown here? This is part of an all stakes pick four. By the way, if people are wondering, the takeout rate for the pick four is the same as the takeout rate for the pick five at Monmouth. Very playable, 15%. So if you wanted to just play the all stakes pick four, you can definitely do that and not get too much money taken out of your pocket there, Steve.
I'm sure I'll find a way to have a lot of money taken out of my pocket on Saturday.
Hey, last time we did a Mid-Atlantic show, you crushed. You had Ceiling Crusher for us.
Ceiling Crusher.
Yes. Yeah. You're darn right.
I'm gonna be living off that one for a while longer, probably. This is a so many ways you go in this one, right? Like where I landed was
this is a brutal pick four. I think there are something in the neighborhood of 20 horses that I thought could really win races.
And I think this is the one that I was looking at. I said, this is. I think there's like 5 or 6 I'd use here. But if I got to give you one, I'm going Grand Motion. No show, Sammy Joe. 4th career start. Second time this year at 4. Really closed kind of with a real kick. The last time I thought kind of impressive. And it just has that upward trend. Each race, 3 races so far. Each one a notch better than the one before. So I think, kind of maturing. I think I like Motion kind of in general in these situations, and I think you get a pretty good price too.
I think I'm going to play a ticket, and I'm not kidding, like a $2 ticket, just Pratt, just in case. Just to have it as like a $2 ticket on the side. If it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit. But I do have him on top here with tax implications for Chad Brown. Ran in the Miss Liberty last time at Monmouth with Joe Bravo aboard. I think the move to a Flavian Pratt gives this horse a touch more, just a little bit of did run well at Aqueduct before that under Manny Franco at 1 1/16. So if this horse is going to jump up, it's going to be here. Totally agree with you, by the way, about No Show Sammy Joe, which is the 4 here for Grand Motion, who had a really good weekend when we were up there together in Baltimore at Pimlico. I also think if you're looking for other kinds of horses, I think the other Brown is live here for Vinny Cheminot. No one calls him Vinny Cheminot, by the way. Maman June, the Irish bred here for Cheminot, who is riding a lot more at Monmouth Park, and I find to be a very excellent turf rider as well. And so won his last 2, has Maman June, or she, excuse me. And so interested to see how that horse runs as well. But I'm with you, Steve. I think this is one where if you made a case for about 80% of the horses in this field, I would be totally okay with it. I think Spirit of Glory can win here. What if the Good Sacred Wish shows up? I think that horse can win here, obviously, that kind of stuff. So tons of options in that one. We've got a Derby alum in the next race, and that is, of course, going to be race 10. It's the Pegasus, the only non-graded stakes here, but it is listed $150,000 for 3-year-olds. Win and in for that Haskell Stakes next month. We do get to see the return of Domestic Product, who ran in the Kentucky Derby, and some horses that tried to qualify for the Kentucky Derby in the number 5 Hades, and also the emerging local star in C Streak on the outside for the Owens barn. Where did Steve Kornacki land on this one?
I landed with the Derby alum, Domestic Product. I had a hard time kind of thinking about this one, only because when you look at the race, I think you see a couple of horses, I think 3 of them who like to be very forwardly placed, but who've done so with extremely glacial paces. So you kind of look at it, and that's why I wanted to toss Hades right away. But then I'm thinking, like, Paco, Monmouth, I think there's something there. He'll be aggressive. And then I'm looking around and I'm like, I'm not sure any of these other horses really want the lead. They seem to, the forwardly placed ones seem to want to stalk, sit a little bit off. So what draws me to Domestic Product is if you look back at that Tampa Bay Derby, I tossed you talked about Society Man in the Matt Winn, a good advertisement for these horses that finish up the track in the Derby. Sometimes you could just toss it completely. I'm doing that with Domestic Product, and I'm looking back to the Tampa Bay Derby before that. And again, glacial fractions, but closed into them, was running pretty far off. And I said, okay, I think if this is going to be that kind of setup, that's the horse I want here.
Yeah, I agree. I've got domestic product on top as well. I looked at a couple of others as well. I do think C Streak on the outside has shown it at the track once in a while, Steve. You just want a horse for course. And if he's going to go ahead and run that kind of race again, then I think he can absolutely win over those fractions, especially. You talked about those glacial paces. He did run a sub 24, was near the pace the whole time, and frankly ended up setting it toward the end of that race. Not the fastest race ever, but I do think did a nice job out of that Owens barn, as I mentioned. I totally agree about domestic product. I think I learned my lesson over the weekend with Society Man, that just a reminder, hey, this is why the Derby, path exists, and this is why it's so effective, is it does give us these very best horses. Man, I wonder how good an Uncle Heavy actually is. It's a horse that won the Withers, but it was in the mud. We've seen a lot of horses come out of Aqueduct this year. That Remsen obviously stands out with Dornick and Sierra Leone and different things. By the way, domestic product also ran in that Remsen as well. So we're seeing horses come out of that Aqueduct thing this year and run really well. Tuscan Sky on the inside, Steve, I wanted to ask you about that horse, the one. Do you trust that horse off the layoff? Pletcher a little cold right now. I don't know if he sees this as kind of like a second or third tier type of 3-year-old here. Do you trust Tuscan Sun off the layoff here?
I don't, and especially at what it should be a pretty short price. I really didn't know. He's another one I put in that category of, because I think I was looking at the the time form pace ratings and their little map of how they I think they had him going out first. I'm not sure. I mean, he's never gone to. He was in a 3-horse race and he didn't go to the lead. So I think I put him in that category of one who wants to kind of stalk, sit right behind the leader. And if that's the game, domestic product, I think will be a better price, and I'll play against, definitely.
Yeah, the only stand I'm taking at Monmouth this weekend is against Tuscan Sky. So there you go. Steve and I agree on that one. So put all of your money on Tuscan Sky this weekend.
Dangerous, yeah.
It is dangerous. That's right. Coming out of the full use of that 1 1/8 shoot is the Grade 3 Monmouth. $150,000. 3-year-olds and up here on the turf. Win and in for the United Nations. And Steve, well documented on this show the last 5 years we've been doing it. I love the United Nations. So this is the United Nations Junior. Who'd you land on this one? I thought this was another brutal one.
It is. I have a horse here who was I built a lot on Preakness Day around and lost a lot because of, but that's Beatbox. And I've been a fan of Beatbox for a while, and I like Beatbox here. This is sort of like what I was just saying about the Derby, the dinner party at Pimlico. Yep. I'm kind of just drawing a line through it. If you look in the form, it's listed as soft. And I was actually excited before that race about Beatbox because Beatbox had won on a soft turf course at Fairgrounds. But, the time for the dinner party was like 10 seconds slower. So there's soft and then there's dinner party soft. And I think that's just in the level right. that just take it out of consideration. And, I look at the forecast. I think there is going to be, not going to be too wet, but there's going to be a little bit of rain potentially tomorrow. A little bit, yeah. It looks, the AccuWeather had a couple 50% plus hours in a thunderstorm in the afternoon, so it might be a little given that in that turf. But I've liked Beatbox, and if you look back, put together 6 straight, I think really solid races before that dinner party. I think that result might scare some people away. Switches to Camacho. I'm not quite sure, what to make of that. Maybe that's good. And good price. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the price play here, if you wanted the horse that I think he thinks he's got a shot here, but really he's setting him up for next month, is Public Sector, the 3-12-1 for Saffie Joseph Jr. But you get Paco. We talked about Paco already, really knowing the Monmouth course and being really, really good there. Ran really well at 1.5 miles in that Pan American, only lost by 1 length, got run down at the very end of that 1.5 miles. Good news here is he doesn't have to go 1.5 miles. He only has to go 1.1 miles. So I wonder at 12-1, if we're kind of overlooking Public Sector, it's a really good angle for trainer Saffie Joseph Jr. as well. 23% in this kind of layoff, running back for the first time since mid-March. I think you'll see this horse no matter what in the United Nations, but I think he's got a real shot here. He's 1-for-4 lifetime at the distance, does have a decent speed figure, has run at Monmouth before, but not to great success. That wasn't the cliffhanger in May of 23 under Sammy Camacho. I love the move to Paco Lopez. This horse, I think, will try to get out front and just rock everybody to sleep. I think Paco does that about as well as anybody. And so at 12-1, I think that'll be the shot that I take as far as a longer one. I do think Running B is here is interesting as well. The 9-horse Steve on the outside again. Vincent Cheminot for Chad Brown ran in that dinner party. Like you mentioned, ran a lot better than the other contenders in here, ran behind Balnikov and Crabs and Beer under Tyler Gaffalione. I like the move to Vinny Chemino here. Ran really well at Keeneland. Saw that horse in early April opening weekend, frankly, at Keeneland as well. Before that, almost picked off the grade 3 Tampa Bay with a pressing style. So I think what you're going to see in this race is that Public Sector gets off first, and Running B is going to be right behind him. And whoever's better at the end is going to end up winning this race. So I'll use those two as my top 2 contenders in this one. Did you have a second horse in that race you really liked that I didn't mention?
Well, I did a question actually, because I've been trying to get an answer to this. Do you know if Tony Port is running in this race or is doing the Churchill one?
Yeah, I don't actually have confirmation of that either, because he's listed for that for the 175 here, right? For the Chorleywood, right?
Yeah. And that's, this is more the distance, I think, that he's been running at, but that one threw me for a loop and I haven't seen anything on it. So
yeah,
I've been interested in it, but I wouldn't. Yeah, no, I mean, I've been interested in him, but I probably wouldn't use him here. I guess the other one I kind of like here is Grand Sonata. Second off the layoff. And the last time, there was a layoff like this, it showed in the next race back, there was a big improvement. So it kind of like that angle, Pletcher really good, I think in this, there was a stat there I wrote down and I've misplaced it here, but there was a good Pletcher stat there. But again, just a horse I think who came, coming back off a layoff and already ran well off the layoff, maybe room for even more improvement there.
Yeah, this is one of those races too where we go, oh right, Javier Castellano, right? It feels like it's one of those kinds of races where we just go, oh right, he's really good at graded stakes, and so that would be that. And then of course the Haskell preview itself is done, but the Salvatore Mile, which is a win and in for the Monmouth Cup, so we will run the Grade 3 Monmouth on Saturday and the Monmouth Cup on July 20th. $150,000, 3 and up here. Going a mile, we see the return of Bright Future. Did run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Actually ran a pretty good race in that Breeders' Cup Classic. Everybody was behind White Barrio, but right behind a proxy was a horse named Bright Future. He's even money in here, Steve, and I think this is going to be the spot where you have to single or you have to try to beat him. What's Steve Kornacki going to do here?
Yeah, and I got a feeling he's not going to be even money. He'd probably be less. But
I agree with that.
It's one of those. I'm going back and forth, but I wanna play against him, and where I am going to. And you gave away big reason why. Paco at Monmouth, Shrill Spite. I know turf horse, older horse, did run in the Salvatore Mile a couple years ago. Was okay. I don't think it was. But I wasn't the kind of performance. The dirt races don't tell you can't do it. The buyer numbers, and again on turf here, but the buyer numbers, I think are the closest you're going to see, of any of the rest of the field. And I think you're going to get, I think the age, I think the turf, background, I think is going to lead people into other directions. And so I think if you're going to me, it's sort of play against the heavy favorite here. Might even be able to get like 10-1 or something. And I don't know, 10-1 that Paco on a horse who can run high 90s, triple digit buyers on the turf could, maybe. And maybe a mile is too short, for Bright Future. I mean, I won on it, early in his career, but, has been doing longer stuff lately. Maybe there's rust. I don't know. I try to come up with enough reasons there to throw a horse out that's going to be 3 or 4 to 5. So,
again, Javier Castellano and a Pletcher run back with Bright Future, who did look, it ran the first time in a grade 1 last year in the Jockey Club Gold Cup there at Saratoga in September, wins that one. They decided to run him in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Again, no one was catching Guadabario that day at Santa Anita, and so nothing to hold against him there. I'm interested in Notorious here, the 3-horse, the Juddmont Farm homebred here. That's Chad Brown. It's LaFlavia and Pratt here. Is coming out of optional claimers, going the 1-turn mile at Aqueduct. Can he get back to 2 turns and win? I think he's won. Yeah, he won the Curlin at Saratoga going 2 turns. Otherwise, he's never won over 2 turns. So I'm interested if that's a thing that he's able to turn around and do. I thought the 1 horse here in Sherlock's Jewel was interesting. This is a Shug horse, ran really well in that Challenger at Tampa on Tampa Bay Derby Day in March. And I'm interested, can this horse, off of a little bit of a layoff here, has been training at Monmouth, has been there for over a month. Can he be comfortable there? Can he run really well? Because his only 2 runs this year have been really good. He wins an optional claimer with an 89 buyer, comes back, runs that 87 behind Skippy Longstocking, who frankly is a grade 1 type of horse. and he's not going to be facing that kind of overall sort of class here outside of Bright Future. And so can Sherlock's Jewel come off the bench here and run a big race? 2 for 2 at the distance as well, going a mile. So I'm interested. As Steve knows, mile and 40 yards at Tampa is a 2-turn race, and so hopefully we can get a price with him as well. But I'll be. I'm tempted. I'm tempted, Steve, to just use Bright Future because these other races are so hard for me to figure out that at some point I got to get a little bit cheaper.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's that, get a price in 2 of the others and just, essentially get a glorified pick 3.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to that yacht rocking
to swing for the fences and be about a 172 hitter.
There you go. He's living below the Mendoza line. His name is Steve Kornacki. I'm Louie Rabeau. This is Horse Racing Happy Hour. Let's head over to Yacht Rock in Churchill Downs. We will look now at what did I tell you we were going to look at? How about that? We're going to look at race 5, the Monomoy Girl overnight, the maiden special in between, and then that Troy Word. Easy for me to say overnight as well. Churchill has really taken to the overnight stakes in recent years, and I'm not mad about it because we get these very, very fun fields. Race 5 is the Monomoy Girl, $175,000 in the purse here, mile and a 16th. This is for 3-year-old fillies, so we do see some horses that we've seen before. Our Pretty Woman is back after running in the Kentucky Oaks, the Fairground Oaks before that. Band of Gold, who ran in the Edgewood, and of course on the outside, Intricate, who ran in both the Rachel Alexandra and the Fairgrounds Oaks this year. Down at Fairgrounds trying to qualify for the Kentucky Oaks. Who did you land on here in the overnight in the Monomoy Girl?
Yeah, I wanted to be creative, but I just look at Our Pretty Woman, and I think you just look at that Fairgrounds Oaks. And I thought that was just to be able to do that was very strong, showed some real talent. And I look at this field and I say, I don't know, I kind of feel Our Pretty Woman goes to the front and maybe doesn't even have that tough of a time of it.
Oh, okay, all right. Hey Zach, am I still in here, buddy? Are you with me still? Are we able to at least do that? I've been getting a little breakup from Steve. Hey Zach, are you there, buddy? Kornacki back with us.
Got it now. What's that?
You know what? Let me.
There it is. I got it now. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm not hearing Louie. I see you talking, but.
How about that? Is that better?
Now I got you now. There
we go.
All right. Well, I'll just cut the middle out. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Let's head to Churchill Downs. We're still yacht rocking, Steve. I agree about our pretty woman. I think Band of Gold could be interesting here. Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez Jr. tried her in the Edgewood, didn't like the grass surface, gets back to dirt for the first time since February. Ran in that Honeybee behind that weird day where Lemon Muffin just shot out of a cannon. Before that, did win in the Martha Washington, that kind of stuff. Just feels like Kenny McPeak's winning a bunch of these races, man. So sometimes you got to throw horses in like that. Do you like the horse on the outside here in the 6-horse Intricate? I'm a little surprised. I think that's more of a Connections 8-5 than anything else.
I had the exact same thing. Look, went head to head. With our pretty woman. Finished up the track. I was especially looking at what the odds are going to be. I was happy to leave out, and I was tempted like you were. With Band of Gold, what kept me away from Band of Gold is just that Martha Washington was in was mud or slop, whatever it was that day. So I just I was like, it's the only one that really kind of pops. So but yeah, I think if I had a second choice, it's Band of Gold, and then I'm happy to leave Intricate out. I think way too short a price.
Yeah, that was when we were introduced to Mystic Dan for the first time, actually, at Oakland Park was that day. Right. And so, it was very sloppy that day for sure. The next race is a maiden special, a 1 1/8. I love Steve, by the way. They've been running these 1 1/8, 1.25 sort of maiden races at Churchill. It is so fun to try them, to see them figure it out. $120,000 in the purse here. Fillies and Mares, 3 and up. Going that 1 1/8, man, there is a serious favorite in here. And let's talk about me, Steve. Boy, if you're right, and you get someone like our pretty woman in race 5, and then you get Let's Talk About Me in this next race, man, it might be one of those nights where you actually play the pick 6, because if you got 2 singles here and you can play a 20-cent pick 4, might not be the end of the world.
Yeah, and again, this is one where I'd like to go somewhere else, and I just get turned off in maiden races when they start to lose 4 or 5 or more races, and I mean you've got an 0 for 7. An 0 for 10, an 0 for 13. I looked a little bit just that, Dallas Stewart has the 6, with Brian Hernandez, did absolutely nothing, first time out, now it was a slop, it was the first time maybe, but you're just playing on, an absolute just kind of shot in the dark there. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's 3 losses, once is the favorite, but, buy ahead with the best buyers. And yeah, I kind of feel like if I'm structuring something here, these are the races to go real, slim in.
Yeah, I think the only knocks would be that trainer Troy Green hasn't won a route in his last 18 attempts, right? And so if that was going to be what we were going to go after, that would be it. But frankly, he was ahead from that not being true with Let's Talk About Me winning last time. So maybe Corey Landry can push her through in this one. I agree. I think the 2 is definitely the one to beat. I did think if you wanted to try to find a price here, I thought the 1 Foreseen, who has run a bunch, but Rusty Arnold, man, this is the kind of race that he seems to pick off at Churchill Downs. Gets Tyler aboard here. Wasn't great at a 1.25 miles, but if you go back and watch that race, I think the race is a little bit shorter. The horse is much more in it, like she was at Keeneland the time before. Didn't like the slop at Gulfstream before that under Luca Panici. They tried her on the synthetic. She hated it. So we're going to get those dry conditions again, a little bit shorter. Maybe Tyler's got something in the bag there for Foreseen. But, man, it's hard to look past Let's Talk About Me at the distance and in this field as well. The 7th race is the Chorley Wood Overnight, $175,000. And speaking of longer turf races, a 1.3 Steve, I think frankly, a pretty fun little a field here. You do get the return of of Web Slinger, who, I mean, has done everything right at Churchill Downs except the Grade 1 Turf Classic last time out under Javier Castellano. no real drop here. We get Jose Ortiz aboard for this one. 20 Port, we'll have to see where he ends up landing. Red runs in this one coming out of the Isaac Murphy Marathon, hated it on the dirt, is going to get back to the turf where he does have 2 wins, Son of Gunrunner there. Bold Act is in here for Tyler and for Charlie Appleby as well. On the outside, not to be forgotten, near the outside, I should say, the 10, and Sugoi, who actually won that Louisville last time out at grade 3 as well, after winning a claimer at Keeneland. Boy, I think a lot of different ways you can make a case here, Steve.
Yeah, what was I kind of thinking as I looked through this here? So I want to go against Bold Act, losing twice in a row now, as the odds-on favorite. But of course, I almost feel like you got to use protectively because you got that Sycamore at Keeneland, and liable to just can definitely win here. I mean, it's Appleby, it's Godolphin, So I feel like I can't leave off, even though I really just like to play against. I like Web Slinger. I've been a Web Slinger fan. I wrote down horse for course, in here for exactly the reason you're saying. A little longer. But ran in that, Saratoga Derby last year, pretty similar. And second, almost won it. I remember losing that day. So I like Web Slinger. And if 4-1, if it's anything like 4-1, I think that's a decent price. The other one I looked at too, that I was just, coming out of that same race as Segoy, was, Utah Beach. Who's been improving, going from level to level. That was the first time, obviously, at that, stakes level, at graded stakes level. The race was kind of weird. I think just looking at it, that the horses in front kind of all stayed in front. It didn't seem like anybody was really moving from the back. I guess Utah Beach moved a little bit at least. So I thought, maybe there's more there. Second time, at this level, more acclimated, and maybe the nature of this race is a little different. So I think Web Slinger would be my top pick, but those are some of the others I'd use too.
And man, Correas lately, that guy can't miss in stakes races. He's winning essentially a quarter of them. I mean, he has been just terrific placing his horses in this spot. If you're looking for a longer shot, Steve, I love the 11 Anglophile on the outside. Didn't run great in that Turf Classic, but we're second off the layoff here. Last time at the distance, almost picked off the Mac Diarmida in a grade 2 down at Gulfstream Park. Brian Lynch, really slow start to this meet. 1 for 32, but has hit the board 8 times otherwise in 32 runs. Sometimes in these longer turf races, Steve, eventually these horses just break through. You just get some kind of horse just picks off the pieces. Declan Cannon, kind of a sneaky good, 12 times hitting the board, first 43 runs at Churchill as well. Could that be the horse that picks this off? I'm not sure, but at least at a price, man, that's the kind of horse that can fill out an exacta, trifecta, something like that for you as well. I do agree with you, by the way, that it's tempting to try to beat Bold Act, and it stands out to me that this is a horse that Charlie Appleby has just left at Keeneland. This isn't one of his best best. All right, that kind of thing. And so interested though, but look, he keeps booking top flight, jocks to ride this, Frankie Dettori, Florent Giroux, now Tyler Gaffalione. Obviously they still think there's something there for the Godolphin folks, but I'm with you. He's not on top for me. For sure. Can Stone Age get up here? Interested in that one as well. Gets back to the turf after running on the synthetic. That's a horse that it's so annoying because it hits the board a lot, but doesn't win a lot. And yeah, I just think if Web Slinger runs his race, Steve, especially get 4-1 on a Web Slinger, something like that at Churchill. Yeah. And I think if the Churchill turf course is having multiple eras because they've had so much trouble reinstalling it, he likes the new turf course. Right. So he's not one of these that, was good 3-4 years ago or whatever. No, he likes the current iteration of the turf course at Churchill Downs. So Web Slinger on top for me for sure there in the Chorleywood overnight as well on Yacht Rock night. Yeah. We'll have to get Steve out there. For that. Man, I don't even know who my favorite Yacht Rock person would be.
Is Air Supply
what qualifies? Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah,
that might be my favorite Yacht Rock group.
I don't care if he is. I'm going to say Michael Bolton.
Yeah, Michael Bolton be on there. Yeah, for sure. Why not? Yeah, no, it's that kind of whatever that version of rock.
Michael McDonald.
I always think of the 40-year-old virgin when I hear that one.
You're right.
That's a great scene. Oh, it's so stupid. Well, what else you got going on right now, man? I know it's election year, so you're busier than bleep and all that, but is it a fun? You got to tell the people. Is it fun in these election years? I know you're busy as hell, but is it fun?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, everybody's very, calm about it. Everybody's very serene, and no, it's. I mean, it's funny
There's
to
no
me
hyperbole at
because
all. Yeah.
well, it's like, I grew up, I was into politics, from a young age. And I mean, I can remember being in high school, Dole versus Clinton.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
Try talking to anybody, in my senior class about Dole versus Clinton. I mean, there's no easier way to get people away from you. And now it's like, here I am a generation later, and everybody wants to talk about it. And I know people, college friends who probably couldn't have told you who the vice president was when we were in college. Now they're shouting at politicians on Twitter or whatever. So it's just when I take a step back, it's just, look, I owe my job to it, so I'm not going to complain. But it's wow, it's kind of wild to me that it's become this.
Yeah, we were talking on my weekday show the other day about why we love baseball players so much. It seems like we can identify with them for some reason, and I think it's because we just grew up playing the sport, right? And so all of us have hit a baseball at some point, so we're like, oh yeah, Tony Gwynn is just a chubby guy who's better at hitting the baseball than I am, that kind of thing. And you can identify with that. But like what you do with politicians, like those people, I just like. My mom was a city commissioner in my hometown for 8 years, and I remember watching the election results come back in precinct by precinct and watching those things on the map and, oh, we're going to do well in this neighborhood and not well in this neighborhood and that kind of stuff. So when I watch you, I always think of my mother that way. But no, I can't identify with the politician, but I do think I could do your job, just not as well.
No, I mean, listen, if you're in the geography, you're in the numbers, horse racing, you're in the numbers.
Right.
There you go. That's what you need to know.
Yeah. There you go. I'm sure you're tired of saying that. Well, this is Florida's 3rd congressional district, and we're looking at it's very purple. That's a very purple district, that kind of thing. So, do you know? Is that one of the things that's in your brain now that you're like, I don't know my mom's favorite color, but I know about this congressional district in Virginia or something?
It's kind of sad. Yeah. I tell people like, I know a lot about a little and nothing about everything else. The things that I'm oblivious to are just, they're shocking to some people, and they're generally embarrassing.
I do love our emails back and forth because I'm like, hey, any chance you can get down to, to Haskell Day, whatever? And you're like, oh, the Republican National Convention's that weekend, so I don't know if I got to do that stuff. This is going on. And I'm like, that's not even on my calendar. Like, that's not a thing. Like, I'm like, how do I get to New Jersey? That's all I'm thinking about. And you're like, well, Trump's going to be yelling at people, and that's kind of a thing too. So, it is what it is. All right.
But it is what I'm saying too about just all the passions around it and everything. It is for me. That's one of the reasons I love horse racing. Because I Monday to Friday. I mean, it's not a someday I have weekend work sometimes, but generally, when I finish up for a week, it's like, tomorrow I get the races.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the best thing about Saturday for sure. Is kind of wake up, make a big breakfast, and get out the daily racing form and kind of try to figure it out. How much did you calculate how much your pick 4 is going to cost at Monmouth, or how are you going to play that sequence? I guess would be my question.
I didn't calculate it yet, and I haven't fully. I'm giving you my top choices, but I'm going to structure something Saturday morning. Okay. But and I'll play the pick 5, and I'll do. I love pick 4s and pick 5s, and that's the fun of Saturday morning is I get to structure them, write them all down, and then start watching.
There you go. Well, good luck with the old. I'm trying to remember. Is it a 75? Yeah, it's a $7,500 claimer to open that pick 5 late at Monmouth. So good luck with that. By the way, if you do come down to Haskell Day, we'll sneak you in. Have you gotten to meet Matt Dinnerman yet?
I haven't met him. No.
Okay. All right. Matt's good dude. The rubber ducky thing in the announcer's booth is absolutely real. So we'll have to bring a gift of. We'll be like the 3 wise men. We'll bring rubber ducks for one Matt. Yeah, it's one of my. We have as part of the Kentucky Derby Festival here. They dump 5,000 rubber ducks into the river here. Whichever one finishes first, someone gets their name pulled out of a hat or whatever. And I've always thought they need to bring Dinnerman to town to call that. Like that's
of course, yeah,
100%. Yes, right.
It's too obvious.
Yeah, right. Travis Stone be like, yeah, go. You can call that. That's fine. Yeah. Well, he is Steve Kornacki. Well, you didn't get your trophy home for winning the Derby draft, but do you know the other winner of our other national attempt at a Derby draft by chance?
No, who is it?
It's Naismith Hall of Famer Dan Issel, Kentucky's leading rebounder and scorer of all time.
Oh, former Denver Nuggets coach.
There it is. All right. Classic. He was Coach Matuma when they came back against
one of the greatest upsets in NBA playoffs. I remember it so well. Yeah.
Do you know the backstory?
No, I
So
don't think so.
George Karl, I can't believe Dan said this out loud. George Karl left his playbook after game 2 next to the court and won the last 3 games.
Get out! I had no idea.
Oh, so fantastic! Yeah, Dan was so upfront about this. Like, no, we had their playbook, so we beat them for the last 3 games. It's like, there you go, there it is, fantastic. So there you go. All right, well, he is Steve Kornacki. Enjoy all the racing this weekend. Hopefully, we'll get you out here for a Yacht Rock night at some point. But I'm glad you enjoyed the Triple Crown so much, and I'm glad you were the other person because I felt it was so strange. I saw no complaining after Dornick won the Belmont Stakes. I saw so much complaining on Twitter about Seize the Grey win. I mean, he's a son of Arrogate. What are we doing? Why is this surprising to people?
Right. And it's who Lucas winning at 88. You gotta, even if you don't have it, you got to smile. I mean, come on.
I mean, even Baffert was like, okay, this guy, I like this guy. Yeah. So good stuff. All right. Well, he is Steve Kornacki. Steve, we appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you probably in a month for the Haskell. How's that sound?
You got to enjoy the music this weekend.
Yeah, we will. We'll be there. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you very much. All right, Steve Kornacki. Get him out of here. That's enough Steve Kornacki for a night. All right, we'll do something else here, Zach. All right. Well, Zach, what do you got going on, man? You had your birthday this week. We need to talk about that.
I did. June 11th was my birthday.
How about that?
It was nice.
You got to remind me, did you turn 44 this year? How old are you?
45.
Oh, 45 this year. Okay, you're 2 years old.
Yep.
Okay, there you go. All right.
Yeah. I only plan to live for another 80 years. So
what do you do on it? So this is, the eternal dad question on this show. What does one Zach Zahner do for his birthday? By the way, the show Twitter account shouted you out on your birthday, and I saw no interaction from you.
I love that people think that I'm on social media when you're the draw, Lou. No one wants to talk to me on Twitter.
Yeah, that's it. But no, what's the dad Tuesday? You go get tacos or something? What do you do there in Austin?
Grill a steak and potatoes. Okay. Yeah, like because a lot of people, like at work and
do the thing. Yeah, right.
And friends are like, "Why don't you take the day off of work?" And I'm like, on a random Tuesday, that's 45. Not relaxing.
Yeah, I'm 45. Yeah,
that is not relaxing. Like, I'll take Friday off or something like that, but I'm not going to take a random Tuesday off. I'm sorry. That's just not me.
That doesn't help my life. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had toasted waffles for breakfast because that's what Gavin made for me. Yeah. My lunch was roast beef sandwich with horseradish.
Love it. Yeah.
Yep. Like I am. When you say like, what was your dad birthday like? Like, I'm pretty sure you could just put that in the dictionary next to dad birthday.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah, it's either food, some kind of bourbon. In my case, it'd be some kind of cigar, something like that. Yeah. No doubt.
So my current bourbon obsession is a $30 bottle of bourbon. So this goes out to anyone who likes cheap bourbon.
Fantastic.
It's called Smoke Wagon. It's made in Vegas. It's good stuff. It is some of the best drinking bourbon I've ever had. You can throw it into a glass. It's smooth. It's got that like nice caramel flavor if you like that. And I actually got turned on to it by a bartender who made me a Vegas Gold Rush. And so that's the other thing that I enjoy doing with Smoke Wagon bourbon, which for those who might not know, that's you take a little bit of hot water and pour some honey in it, mix it into a liquid, pour that in with some lemon juice in the bourbon. Good.
Yep. Little toddy action. How about that? I like that. Yeah, I'm looking up Smoke Wagon right now. They even have the bottles are cool looking even. How about that?
Oh yeah. So here's the trick though. Do not buy the $60 bottle. The $60 bottle is abhorrent. It is not good.
The uncut one?
Yes. Only $90 bottle. Well, there's like uncut 1 and uncut 2. The $90 bottle is great. And the $30 bottle is great. For some reason, the $60 bottle is just
isn't that funny with whiskeys? Like sometimes like the 80 proof is great and the 100 proof is great, but the 90 sucks. Like it doesn't make any sense why like one's really great and one isn't. No, it's totally true about whiskey, man. By the way, shout out to Smoke Wagon. If you want to hang out with a happy hour, let us know. They have a combo pack, by the way, of all 6 of their bottles. That's a great idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so I did that. Had like a glass to celebrate making it to 45, hung out with my wife. It was great. Like that's, I can't ask for a better situation,
Awesome.
We're both
good. Yeah.
we're both very fortunate to have great families and good kids. So
there you go. By the way, Smoke Wagon available in all of our top states. So California, Illinois, Kentucky, not in New Jersey. Okay, that would have been the one, but there is one in New York, which is another big state for us. And obviously,
Steve can't have Smoke Wagon at work. Come on.
No, they got it. Oh, they do have it in New Jersey. Never mind. There it is.
There you go.
And then, yeah. And then I'm trying to look for our other states. There's Ohio. I don't see one in Indiana, but River City here in Louisville is the distributor, so they may be able to distribute in Indiana as well. So yeah, there you go. How about that? Little Smoke Wagon holding up there as well. But there you go.
And
man.
then it was, it's nice and chill. My wife makes this amazing pasta salad, which is bacon, avocado, pasta, and cherry tomatoes.
How about that?
Yeah, I don't know how you can beat that. And then it's ranch dressing. Yeah. I can't do dairy. Hidden Valley makes an amazing plant-based ranch dressing. So I'm like sponsorship advertiser right now. Sponsor us, Hidden Valley.
Yeah, Hidden Valley. Texter, or our guy Steve chiming in. If it's made in Vegas, it's not bourbon. You watch your mouth. It's just not Kentucky straight bourbon. That's right. You know what caught me off guard actually was how good some of the Colorado whiskeys have gotten.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So freaking good.
Well,
I forget the brands now, but it's just a reminder that as long as you have those swings in weather where it gets really warm and it gets really cold, you can make really, really good whiskey.
Yeah, and what's been catching me off guard lately actually is the alcohol stuff. Like a lot of that stuff has been starting to get really good for beers, and I've tried some like bourbon flavored alcohols that were good. So
yeah, some of those are getting really great. Cut Above and some of those folks. The one that I had that I was like, okay, I could drink this again was a non-alcoholic mezcal. And I was like, just that like smoky, spicy thing with mezcal, like that, one of those things where, maybe poolside, it's like 2 p.m. You don't want to get too heavy into it. And so what those are designed to do is actually you put like an ounce of mezcal in with an ounce of that. So you essentially cut the drink in half and you kind of extend your day out that way. Or if you're making like a pitcher drink, you go half and half, that kind of way. And so that, people can, kind of enjoy it throughout the day rather than just sitting down with like a heavy glass of bourbon or something like that. So, by the way, Kornacki, by the way, he bothers me. So the guy he comes out and he's like, yeah, I don't hit any bets. And it's like, dude, you gave a ceiling crusher last year on the wettest day in the history of the Pennsylvania Derby. Like, whatever.
Right.
Please.
Didn't he have Dan too?
Who?
Kornacki, didn't he have Mystic Dan?
No, you're thinking of our guy Danny. Tennessee Dan. Danny Brewer had him.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think Danny went. Oh, and then of course he's on my show every Thursday. He was on this morning. Ben Roberts loved Mystic Dan. Would not shut up about him for like 2 months. And bet him like 50 across in the Derby and had him in everything.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like he just went heavy. And so I asked him a couple weeks ago, I'm like, how much did you tell your wife about that? Because that's one of the great horse racing discussions is if you hit the big ticket, how much do you tell your spouse about it? I opened with the joke. So if people don't know, my dad's an attorney. And so I heard all the lawyer jokes growing up, and an old woman comes in to a lawyer's office. She sits down, he sits down with her. They just revise her will. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. How much is this? And he said, oh, this was only a half hour. It's $100. And she says, oh, no problem. And she reaches into her purse and gets out a brand new crisp $100 bill and hands it to him. And he goes, thank you so much. He says, no problem. She leaves. And he gets up, he gets a cup of coffee, sits back down, and he realizes she's given him $200.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has a dilemma. Do you know what the dilemma is, Zach?
The dilemma is, how should he charge her for another half hour?
Does he tell his partner? So for lawyers, that's the joke, right? And so I wonder if horse racing bettors aren't the same, right? Like you hit the pick 5 or something, and it pays like $8,300, let's say. How much do you tell your spouse?
What if you hit the pick 5 and won $365,000?
Yeah, right. At some point you have to tell the truth because you get into a tax area where it's going to affect your entire family. And so, right. Yeah. So those are different discussions. Like our guy, Scott Issel hit he swept the pick 6 at Saratoga last summer. And that was, man, 120. No, it
Yeah.
was in the twos, like 250 or something, right?
Right.
And
yep. It was huge.
like,
that
with
was
those-
the joke I was making. Like,
Yeah, with those, he had every horse in the last race of the pick six. And I feel like that's the situation where you grab your spouse and you're like, we're watching this race. By the way, if this horse wins, we sweep the pool, we get this amount of money. And because then you just have someone to like catch you in case you faint, right? Like that,
well, dude,
that has value as well. Yeah.
We haven't talked enough about how our Triple Crown went on bets for the picks on the Gold Book.
Yeah, we got time.
And let me tell you, we were one horse away from an $8,500 payout on your pick five. And like, dude, like we were.
And by the way, we had both of the other horses in that. In the photo finish. That's right. Yeah, no question.
Right. Like that weekend, between those 3 weekends, I spent a total of $300 betting and bet over $1,500 in bets.
Right. Yeah, no, that's right. And I did the math actually, Zach. So I started betting the Tuesday of Derby week for 5-0 Tuesday. And I just used the Gold Book. By the way, Gold Book bets. We'll have a freebie tomorrow. I'll do every race at Churchill and then that pick 4 at Monmouth Park. It'll be totally free. Goldbookbets.com. Go check that out. The thing that stood out, Zach, was 2 things. So I started with $200 on Tuesday of Derby week. I just kept betting out of that money over Derby week and then over Preakness weekend. I bought dinners with the cash. I bought I tipped people with it. I bought drinks for people, like all kinds of stuff. And then I got home after Preakness. I had an envelope and I just handed it to my wife and I said, we're going to pay for all of our meals in Italy on a trip because I have money left. It was like $1,200. Right. And I bet everything. I just bet everything. So no, we had a great weekend and it was just a reminder
that was the missing context. I bet every single race of all 3 weekends.
Yes,
every race.
That's the other
$10
part.
on the winner.
Yep.
$10 on the winner.
We put together
and the pick threes. Yep. It was
exactly
insane.
Right. So yeah. So especially in Baltimore, you were able to bet everything, and you started with $100 on Friday morning, and it cost you $100 to bet for both days. You had action on every race.
Every race. I went into TVG and looked at how many bets, and I showed you at the end of the day. Yeah. I had $600 in bets just on Preakness weekend for $100 starter. Like that was just
very fun. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to measure, success and return on investment and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, to take $100 and bet every race for an entire weekend, you and I have a very similar approach to horse racing that way, where that it's the entertainment value that matters for us, and to be able to do that at least was very fun. And like you said, we're literally a photo finish away in the Derby from thousands and thousands of dollars. So
yeah,
that's the fun of the game, right? For sure. So
and we can look back now, and Louie changed his picks because of the rain, and he bet his old picks, and here I am live for like $8,000, and Louie missed it. It was the worst.
I was so sick. I was so sick. I had updated the whole Gold Book. Everyone else had the right pick. I had the wrong one on my desktop. Yep.
It was the worst.
I was that guy.
Oh, and I didn't know how to be happy. I was like, well, I got to be happy. I don't know, but Louie.
For sure. But then it missed anyway, thank God, for my own personal medal, whatever. But yes, it is.
Please, we would have split the money.
I'm hoping, by the way, we'll have a very fun show announcement next week on this show, by the way, as it pertains to the Indiana Derby. So be aware of that. If you're going to be up there, by the way, our travel schedule coming up, Indiana Derby every year, we're going to be there. We're going to have something very special for Indiana Derby Day. And that's going to be awesome. So if you are up there on July 6th, we're going to have something for you that's very cool. I'm working on a third member of our broadcast team that we've had before. I'm hoping he's able to do the show again. So be watching for that. And I'm very hopeful we'll be doing something the week of Indiana Derby week as well. And so go ahead and kind of get locked in next week. Get ready for that announcement. Very excited about that. And then, man, I think, Zach, we're like 90% to go to the Haskell. And I've never been to Monmouth. I've never been to the Haskell. I am so excited. Matt Dinnerman is such a good friend of this show. I'm getting to talk to him tomorrow. A guy that I really respect in horse racing. I think he's part of whatever that next wave of horse racing is going to be. It's going to be Matt. We felt that way a long time. Yeah. Also excited, by the way, tomorrow to not excited, but interested to get his thoughts on Golden Gate and all those things, because he did. I mean, he poured himself into that place, and so he was the announcer, he was the handicapper, he was the TV show out there, he was everything for Golden Gate Fields for many years, and so interested to hear from him tomorrow how he's feeling and all that. But crushing it at Oakland, crushing it out there at Monmouth Park, so hopefully keep that going as well. In the Gold Book, by the way, 2 pick threes. I got a pick 6 ticket in the Gold Book as well for Churchill Downs.
Ooh, Louie's going wide.
I haven't hit the pick 6 at Churchill. Okay, I should let me start over with the rephrasing of that. I haven't played the pick 6 at Churchill in 2 years. And the last time we played it, we hit it. And so I'm hopeful. I looked at this card and I thought, this is one where I think we can hit the pick 6. And so decided to put together 2 pick threes essentially and try to figure that out. So
that's what I was literally about to say. I was like, Louie, if there's anyone in my life that is the king of the pick 3, it is you. And putting together 2 pick threes seems like the best opportunity.
We had so much fun with this. I'm on WBAL with our guy Scotty Wyckoff in Baltimore. And I sit down, he calls me the prince of the pick 3, and I started laughing.
Prince of the pick 3.
And I looked at him and I went, do you know what they called me in Louisville? They called me the derriere of the Downs. Like, I'm the bum. I'm the bum in Louisville. I love Baltimore. You people are so kind to me. So there you go. That was
you hit like 5 of 9 pick 3s that weekend.
We had a good weekend. There you go. We had fun. It was great. My hope is, by the way, if people are heading out on Saturday, 320, 321, that kind of area, look for the guys, too many guys with cigars and that kind of stuff will be out there hanging out as well. Look for the guy with no hair that's overweight. That's me. You'll be able to find us. It'll be a lot of fun. So it's
so self-effacing.
But we'll be out there. So if you want to come hang out with us, you can also DM me. I'm at Radio Louie on Twitter. You can DM the show, whatever. We'll get you together. I'll kind of put a picture up on Twitter. You can come find us as well. Always a fun night with those. I think the Yacht Rock thing is such a smart idea. It's so silly.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
Fun. Yeah.
I did not know that fact until you said it. And I was like, how is this not a regular thing everywhere? You look at a place like Golden Gate closing down and you're like, why don't you have like Yacht Rock Saturdays, right? Like,
yes, right.
Make it a party.
Yeah. That's the thing. Steve talked about it, and I'm not a how do we save horse racing person. I just have fun with it. I
sure.
Like my contribution, whatever small piece of blah, whatever in the sport is just that we have fun with it, and that we try to make it approachable and whatever else. And I talk about it on our little local ESPN affiliate here and that kind of thing. But it's, to me, just all I know how to do is have fun with it. And so when I got the email at like 11:45 before we went off air at noon, and it was like, Yacht Rock is the theme this weekend. I was like, yes, sir, it is. Let's go. That's like 10 minutes of Yacht Rock talk. So there you go.
No, and I mean, I'm not save horse racing either, but I'll tell you that.
But Steve's right, by the way. I mean, like, the events matter. And what I was going to say about that is, to me, horse racing's more just get people in the door.
Yes.
And then see if they want to come back, right? Because if you can get a big crowd, let's say they have, I don't know, 20,000 for Haskell Day. They usually have huge crowds. Man, if you get 200 of those people to become daily bettors or become, Wednesday at Horseshoe or Thursday at Parks or whatever kind of bettors, man, that's how the sport starts to pick back up. And the only thing I know how to do is just take people on the ground to where these races are. Like I said, we'll talk to Dinnerman tomorrow. By the way, we'll release that conversation on this platform as well, so you'll be able to get that without having to go search too hard through local AM sports talk radio in different markets that you're not familiar with. But we'll do that, and then just we have so much fun with it. By the way, do you know our outside of the Derby, our highest ranked show this year? I love this. Was Callie Francois, Dave Rodman, and Scott Wyckoff, and Callie talking about the raccoon family in her office.
Yes.
And I just it was a reminder, Zach. It was a really fun one. That if we don't have fun with this thing, like, what the hell are we doing? Right. I mean, what in the actual hell are we doing? So hopefully,
I'm calling Callie out on this one. She did not show us the raccoon when we were at Preakness.
Yeah. It was almost like she had something to do Friday and Saturday. So there you go. By the way, are we gonna, no, we're not doing appearance-based radio. We're not doing that. We're not doing that stuff. Cause that's just, there was a great, next time Callie's on, we'll ask her about it. How's that? Cause it's just a very specific look on Saturday. I want to ask her about it. I think it was weather related, almost certainly. So there you go.
Oh man.
But man, we love that. We love that Baltimore trip, man. It is top of the heap for us for sure. And by the way, like Johnny P hanging out and all that stuff, we had a great time. So yeah, no, it was a good Triple Crown for us, man.
It was amazing. Oh, can't do any better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Outside of getting a Triple Crown winner, it was a fantastic one. So, all right, brother, let's get out of here. Happy birthday. We'll get out of here. Let's play some music. On to Yacht Rock night at the at the old stomping grounds there at Churchill Downs. Does he tell his partner? There it is, Steve. I know Steve that joke. Does Zach see?
Can Zach find a Lincoln Park version of Yacht Rock?
That's a good joke for the show tomorrow. We'll try to do that when we get together again. Rabo and Co. tomorrow. We'll have Matt Dennerman at 11 if you want to tune in for that. We'll be up on the platform well ahead of the races on Saturday as well. One of the things I love talking to track announcers more and more, especially the younger guys, they are handicappers as well. So they're really looking at the races, really interested in, because they want to reflect in the call if it's a big upset or if it's, you know, the sort of the expected person to be there at the end of the race. And so I think Matt will offer some pretty good insights as well. And frankly, a guy that wasn't probably terribly familiar with Monmouth, he's been there for a couple weeks now, and so he'll have a good idea of how the track is playing as well. He's producer Zach. I'm Louie Rabo at Radio Louie on Twitter. You can find our show at Horse Happy Hour as well. Go ahead and follow us on YouTube as well. A couple weeks ago, for example, sat down with jockey Jaime Torres, walked through the Preakness with him, did a little Phil study that way, hoping to get some more of those this summer as well. And by the way, end of the month, we will start the Kentucky Racing Spotlight show back up when they move to Ellis Park. And so right when the Indiana Derby is going on, I'll have an Ellis Park opening weekend show as well. One of the great things, Zach, they're going to run Saturday through Monday at Ellis, and they're going to run their stakes race on Sunday. So all the Saratoga guys can come down after running on Saturday at Saratoga and run these stakes races at Ellis. Plus those Mondays are going to be complete and total fire. I am so glad they're running on Mondays out there. So that'll be fun as well. So we'll get you through the summer here on the show as well and have a lot of fun with that. Again, producer Zach, I'm Louie Rabo. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour.